Hi, Coach. We are live with the media. We're going to start with Steve Conroy.
Hey, Bruce, just the laundry list of the players out. Anything on Foligno yet?
He went for a little skate this morning, so he's feeling a little bit better. He's when did he was in Tampa, correct? So that was Saturday. So I don't anticipate we'll see him this week, Steve, but next week certainly a possibility. So be a few games, but good news on that front because watching it on video, it sure didn't look good. So thought it could have been more long term, but not great to lose a player for any length of time. But like I said, when we saw that one, I thought it could be more long term.
In Frederick.
Upper body still, he's out today and tomorrow. I'll get you something later in the week if that changes.
Okay. On Tuukka, I know you kind of have to see how it goes a little bit here, but you have an idea of how you want to break down the workload between he and Linus?
Well, we got to see how he performs first, right? How his conditioning is, recovering from games, et cetera. We have a lot coming up, so obviously both goalies are going to get the net. Our plan originally in a back-to-back is I think we've played one goalie back-to-back all year or over the years here. That was Swayman earlier this year. It was an afternoon to a night. So our intention is to start Tuukka tomorrow. All things being equal, he'll have to be okay with that. I believe he is. Had a good workout today. And then going forward, we'll just, like typically we do, we'll try to get it to you the day before at worst. And we might alternate early on to see how it goes. But again, some of it is how does Tuukka respond to playing right away from the surgery and production, obviously from play from both goaltenders, kind of how we did it earlier this year.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Jimmy Murphy.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good. Jimmy, how are you?
We just yesterday when we talked to Donnie, I just asked him, when a team looks at a player that's maybe had a troubled past and they're interested in maybe giving him a second chance or bringing him in, for example, Evander Kane, what goes on, how they look into from a coach's perspective, what does Don come to you with? What does he ask you?
Well, we haven't discussed that particular player. We may down the road, if he feels that that's something he wants to pursue. Typically, Donnie and I will talk about players, but not everyone. I'm not aware of every, transaction he's in on. Obviously, I'm sure he talks to GMs all the time, especially this time of year, gets ramped up probably a little bit more. So if he does, we'll go through it. A lot of times, from my perspective, is a little bit of vetting in terms of, well, who knows him? How does it affect the locker room? I think we see the type of player, any player usually that's been in the league, you can sort of figure out where he fits and how good of a player he is. But how is the fit in the locker room? What's his motivation to join the Bruins? There's a few other things that are maybe intangibles that you want to look at. You can go from there. So, but that's basically the state of the Evander Kane situation with us.
And a separate topic, just looking ahead to tonight, you get the Canadiens come in obviously in a much different place than you guys right now in terms of where their season's at. They're just starting to get a lot of guys back. With the way you're on a roll, obviously sometimes these teams can sneak up on you. What do you guys have to do to not let that happen?
Well, we should be aware it's Montreal. It's a natural rival of ours. It's a division rival. So, that should always get your attention first. But you're right. Them having a break and getting bodies back was probably good for them mentally. It wasn't going well for them. They could sort of establish a reset. I think that is a little bit what we did. We certainly weren't in Montreal's position coming out of the break, but I think getting away for us, getting some guys healthy, having the Christmas break, getting some practice time to revisit some things, had a lot to do with our success coming out of the break. So I anticipate they'll be better. How much better, I don't know. We haven't seen them in a while. But at the end of the day, our focus becomes on, with Montreal, we got to make sure we win the interior ice battles. I think that happened last time in here. It took us a while, but we got inside a lot. It resulted in goals eventually from McAvoy, Charlie Coyle, got a couple. I know we got fortunate on one, hit him, but at the end of the day, we started playing in between the dots a little better. protected that area on our end, and as a result, end up being the better team. So that's always where we want to win the battles and keep our pace up. I think we've been moving the puck well. I think we've been out skating teams, forcing them to defend a lot, and that's worked to our advantage because all of a sudden now you're starting to finish well, get a few breaks around the net, pucks hitting the net better than they were before. So now you're playing with the lead, and any team with the lead is usually going to play better and it doesn't have to play with much risk in their game. So that's the other part of it is playing with more leads, which has worked to our advantage. I know Washington the other night we had to come back, but at the end of the day, it's been better for us than it was maybe earlier in the year.
Scott McLaughlin.
Hey, Bruce. If Taylor Hall is back in that top power play unit, what are some of the lessons maybe learned from when he was there before in terms of how to better integrate him into that unit and how they can function with him there?
Well, sometimes when you load up, there's one puck to go around. So you got Berge that's a shooter. You got Marcia can distribute and score. Pasta obviously do both. Charlie started to shoot more up top. So that position down there is more of a net front presence. Force the goalie to work to find pucks, recover pucks, make some plays when it does find you. Obviously support entries. And Taylor's used to being a guy that the puck runs through him. So that was the adjustment. We discussed that, at the start of the year, that if that's the role or if that's a position you feel you can help us best with, that's the job description, right? So you're gonna have to change a bit of maybe typically what you've done in the past. So we used him on both. He's been effective on both. The other night, I think we might have been in between a change on one of them, but at the end of the day, Charlie Coyle did a great job as a net front guy and always has. It's just a right stick when it runs through Marshy. You don't have much of a drop off under certain types of pressure because Coyle will be on his backhand if you go down to him, unless he's kind of in the corner. You're not that dangerous there. So a left stick there has always been better when you run it from Marshy's side. Obviously, it will help Pasta to drop off, but when it goes to him, it's more the final sort of play to get it to the net, whether it's a shot or a shot pass into Berge. So that's a disadvantage of Charlie, but he does do a great job in net front. So you might see both guys, to be honest with you. I think Montreal's been exposed on the PK a little bit this year in their net front. So we talked to Taylor about that, about hanging around there. Make sure you don't vacate there too quickly. We'll see how it plays out, but we're comfortable using either or. I think when Taylor's not on the first unit, pucks travel through him on the second unit, and that helps. He's got some nice goals on the power play in that position as well. So hopefully it doesn't bother him that much if he toggles between units. But at the end of the day, we'll do what's best in every situation, and hopefully it works out for us.
Last question, Tim Rosenthal.
Hey, Bruce, you've had a couple of games looking at Euro Vakanainen here. How do you think he's handled the development this time around, being his second, third, fourth call up here?
I think he's been more consistent. Body language is better in terms of being engaged in the game, practice habits. His execution is crisper in practice. He's ready to go right away. Even though we haven't had a lot of practice, you can just notice that, and it's translated in the game. I think he's passed the puck well. He's been assertive when it's on his stick, looking to go north. Not afraid to hold on to it an extra second or two if that's what the situation dictates, while he's moving his feet to open up some passing lanes. I think he's defended harder. Obviously, some of that has to do with just maturity, right? He's stronger in battles, and he's more comfortable probably in them to hang in them longer. So, and as a guy that's going to be a defender first, I think that's important. Obviously, his greatest attribute defending is his feet and his stick, but you still got to mix in body position in there, use all three to your advantage. So just a little upgrade in every area there, Tim, for the most part. We saw it with other young guys that have come through here. So not surprising. We needed to see it sooner or later, obviously. And so the timing is good for him right now with some guys out in the COVID world. We've had other D that haven't had COVID, that the way it's going seems like it's going to touch everybody sooner or later. So, might be an opportunity for him to get back in there if other guys were to recover and get in there. So, and when you go back in knowing you've played well, that's always a positive. And maybe he doesn't come out if he keeps playing well. That's the other thing. Steen's done a good job after a few call-ups of understanding it's an every night business. So that's what we're hoping for from Urho. But so far, a lot of always room for growth. No different than anybody else. But better than what we've seen in previous call-ups. And like I said, I think some of it's just to do with being around the league a little bit longer and growing up a little bit.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, coach.